Today, on the $1 Million Mind.
Honestly, a lot of people are scared to show others what they do because they don't want to be looked at a certain way. How are you going to grow a business if you don't want to show people or you don't want to tell people what you do? Just focus on yourself, focus on building your business, focus on building your brand. Go out there and show people what you do. Don't be in your head. Don't care about what people think. So if I can go back and I can teach those people, I would situate their credit, I would build their credit report, structure them out correctly, and then I would get them access to funding so they can grow at a faster rate. Well, I see this as an industry that's going to completely take off. And just looking at the numbers for my business too, like the last 2 years for me, I've made over 6 figures. This year, I'm aligned to make, like, based off the numbers and how everything is going, my first 7-figure year.
So do y'all want to know the difference between a credit expert and a credit wolf? This show not just about to be about credit scores, but it's about to be about the journey of how one man literally built a credit empire. You're going to find out next on the $1 Million Mind podcast. What's going on, millionaires? It's your guy, Kai Speaks, back with another episode of the $1 Million Mind podcast. I'm excited about money conversations, entrepreneurship conversations, mindset conversations, and that's really why I started this platform that we have here that you guys are enjoying. But today's stories in particular, we got a brother from Boston, Massachusetts, Ruben Morillo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm trying to get that sounds like a Spanish name.
I'm
okay.
Dominican.
Dominican?
Yeah,
okay, dope. I just went to DR maybe like a couple months ago in Punta Cana.
Oh, yeah.
We stayed at a resort, of course. You know, I be trying to go where the locals be. But, I got family. They a little spooky sometimes. But hey, man, Ruben, it's a pleasure having you on here. Just listen to your journey about how you built this. You're building this empire of, capital funding, for small businesses, startup businesses. I really think it's inspiring. But tell our listeners a little bit more about you and how you got into what you're doing now.
Absolutely. So it's a pleasure to be here. Mm-hmm. My name is Ru. I go by Get Busy Ru on all socials. I own a capital assistance program where we pretty much focus on helping startup businesses get access to capital, just because of the fact that, it's a little bit difficult when you have a startup business. The overheads are too high on a monthly basis. So we help them get access to capital so they can function correctly.
That's dope, man. That was a very elaborate. You practice your elevator speech, man. That's an elaborate way to put it down. But we're gonna get into the nitty gritty for sure, man. And I think I want to start by diving into like the evolution of your mindset, because it's the $1 Million Mind. So it's always fitting, but we got to talk about like where our mind was at before we got to the success that we've had into what things have changed, and I'm sure you have evolved in a lot of different ways. If you could walk us through the day, like a day in your life before versus after embracing the wolf mentality, because you the wolf of credit. So let's talk about that wolf mentality that you have now. But I also want to know about what that day in the life looked like before.
Absolutely. So for a lot of people don't know, I actually grew up like in the trenches. I grew up like 45 minutes outside of Boston. I had a rough upbringing. Like I stayed back, and that was like the wake up call in my life, because like a lot of people that I went to school with, like 5th, 6th grade, 7th grade, a lot of them passed away. A lot of them went to jail, and just seeing like where they ended up, I didn't want to go down the same lane, even though I was already going down a similar lane. So once I stayed back, I pretty much separated myself from those kids. And it's like, it was almost one of those things where it was like a blessing in disguise. Like in the moment, I was just like, damn, like I'm seeing all my friends move on, and, I'm staying back. And then the people that I got around pretty much just helped change, my mindset and everything like that. And then I started playing football. Football played a big factor in my life too, because I realized if I don't have good grades, I can't play football. So I focused on football. I locked in. I earned myself a scholarship to play Division II college football. And that's just where I met everybody, bro. I met all the people that really impacted my life. Like almost like my mentors, like people that have been guiding me. I was on a team. And when I was on that team, there was probably like 6 people on that team with me that they were already diving into entrepreneurship. So just getting around them and just seeing the things that they were doing, it almost made me like kind of follow. You know what I mean? Like imagine being in a room with like 6 people that are all getting money. They're all speaking about leveling up, abundance and different things like that. Like you feel a little awkward in that room when you're not doing the same thing. So naturally I just gravitated to doing what they were doing, and it just got me to where I'm at. Yeah. And then just paying for mentorship, like that's something I've really been like focused on. These last few months, I've been paying for a lot of mentorship. Wasted over like $20,000 within the last like 4 months, just investing and locking in on mentorship, learning from people that have the results that I've always wanted. So
yeah, that's always key. And you said like for our listeners that are tapped in right now, to them it may sound like a broken record, but it really is the difference for a lot of people in success is that mentorship and tapping in and not just looking at it as spending a ticket, but investing into your business, investing into your health, investing into your mindset, your well-being, whatever it is that you are investing into. It's really key. And it's a couple things I want to point out from what you said. One, shout out to the college athletics because, and to be honest, not every program is like that. But it sounds like you was very fortunate to be a part of a program that had the right people in it, you know, to where you're getting these mentors and you having these conversations and stuff like that. So that's dope. And then another shout out is to them youth athletics. Like youth athletics really is life-changing and life-saving for a lot of kids who grow up, you know, in the trenches and who grow up in these, you know, areas that are not as well off as others. When they get into youth sports, it's like a escape. It's a distraction from reality of what's going on back at home or what's going on in your neighborhood. It's also a way to get you out of, you know, the trouble. Because a lot of times kids, when they're in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, like a lot of the trouble is just because they be bored. Like, especially as young boys, like we just got so much energy. It's like you can't let a young boy just be idle-minded and just be roaming, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do today. Like you gotta tell them what you're gonna do because get them into sports, get them into activities, get them into film, theater, whatever it is. But don't just let them be idle-minded, just roaming the streets.
Absolutely. And one thing I'll say is like, I feel like athletes, they have an advantage when it comes to succeeding in life. Just with like the lessons that you learn, the people that you get around, the hardships you have to go through as a team, and like that bond that you build, like while you're working out and stuff like that, playing in the games, it's like you take everything that you've learned, all those skill sets, and you apply them to life, and it's just way easier to succeed. Like my transition from football into starting my own business, it's almost like this. I have like the same mindset. I attack it the same way. You want to work hard. You want to get your reps in, wake up early. You know what I'm saying? You're very disciplined when it comes to your schedule. So I've applied everything I've learned in the sports, and it was almost like a shortcut to seeing success when it came to my business.
Yeah, that's a good point. So when you mentioned earlier about like you had to stay back, put that into perspective for our listeners. Like, what do you mean by you had to stay back? Even for me, because I feel like, is that like a Boston term? Like, I'm trying to imagine what you mean by stay back.
Nah, like I actually I had to repeat a grade.
Literally stay back a grade. Okay.
Yeah, I stayed back a grade. I stayed back in 6th grade and didn't go to 7th. But I'm telling you right now, like the class that I was with originally, like a lot of kids were doing a lot of things they weren't supposed to be doing at a young age, like early on. So just like separating myself from that group, and it's like they forced me kind of to separate myself. Like it's not like I wanted to. Like I had to actually stay back, and just getting around like a whole new group of kids, and just they were on the right track. They all had their heads on straight. So just following them, you know, they would encourage me, yo, Rudo, you don't want to do that. You want to do this. You know, get together after school, just talking about the right things. And that's how I learned early on that, you know, just having the conversations with the right people can really just like help a lot in life.
Yeah,
so.
And they really, technically, these kids are younger than you, and so you still kind of like following suit, like. Man, I could only imagine how hard it would be though, as a sixth grader in the 5th grade, like kind of like following a bunch of 5th graders around. Like, I don't know if you still remember, but like, did it feel like odd to you? Did you have like some like hesitancy where you kind of like at first like a little bit like resilient, like resistant of it?
Yeah, I was like the big bro. I felt like at first I thought I was too good, I was too cool, and I had to realize like, nah, that's not the way to think. Like they actually teach me things. They're doing things that I'm not used to seeing. Like they were super on point, super sharp, and I still talk to a lot of them this day. So have a big impact in my life for sure.
Talk about that's a situation on like how God makes things happen for us and not to us. Like that's an example of like. Yeah, like you had to stay back, but that's not something that happened to you. That's something that it seemed like it happened for you, like for you to kind of like make a nice little shift at an early age before it became too late. Like some of the other kids you may have known in your actual grade. So now fast forward a little bit, talk about like some beliefs, like based on how you were raised and how you grew up. What were some of your like beliefs on money, your relationship with money, and like financial literacy and stuff like that?
For sure. So growing up, I actually have 2 great parents. So they're separated, but my mom, she was a hard worker. Like she worked 3 jobs. So me as a young kid, I'm seeing it. Like it was like almost hard work was instilled into me. Like I go by Get Busy Rule because I'm like constantly getting busy. I'm constantly doing things. I'm on podcasts. I'm on calls. I'm talking to clients all day. Like I'm always working. I'm at events. Like I'm actually out here for an event right now. But just my mom, she was working 3 jobs growing up. My dad was a promoter. So after school, my dad would pick me up and I would sit in the back seat and he'd be, printing out like little flyers, posting them on walls. I'd see him linking up with business partners, just strategizing how they can take the business, to the next level. So just seeing like all of those things combined, it really just made me who I am. Like it just made me grind. Like my mom was working super hard. My dad was, working super hard. So I always had like the hard work instilled into me. I just had to find the right vehicle to work hard in. And once I found the right vehicle, it was pretty much up from there.
Yeah. Working hard is definitely a catalyst to great things. But also at a certain point, now you start to realize, okay, how can I work a little bit less? Still maintaining my hustle.
Yeah.
But how can I work a little bit less? And then how did you get into like credit? Like, because like I don't know how you were brought up, but in my neighborhoods and like in my family and things like that, nobody was having conversations about like, yeah, there were people in my family who worked hard, like they were hard workers, but nobody was really leveraging credit.
Sure.
Nobody really was having conversations about credit. It was always like, credit's bad, debt is bad.
Yeah.
Don't get a credit card unless you really need one. So like what was that upbringing like for you as far as like on the credit side of things?
So I know about credit. So I used to be in a network marketing company right before I started my credit business. So that's pretty much where I started off. Like I learned the basics of business and that's where I built like some type of influence for myself in the network marketing company. And when it comes to a network marketing company, for those that know, you're traveling a lot, you're booking a lot of hotels. So it literally it ties in with credit. Like when you're booking these flights, you're booking these hotel stays, if you use a credit card, you're going to be able to maximize reward points. So there was someone on my team that they were saying like, yo, every time I go to these events, I'm always using my credit card. And I was paying everything in cash. So I was like, what do you mean using a credit card? Like, how does it work? And they were just teaching me about it. And I was like, okay, bet. So you booked this hotel for free today using your reward points. And I was like, yo, I can really save money. It's a smarter option. It makes the most sense. Let me start looking into credit. And I got approved for a few different credit cards. My first credit card was a Chase Freedom Flex. It's a great card when it comes to traveling. And then I got a Amex after that. But when I was speaking to my boys, like, yo, look into this credit card. Look into this credit card. They weren't getting approved for it. So I'm like, okay, cool. Why are they not getting approved? Like, what's going on? What's the difference between me and them? And then I started to do more research into credit. It kind of intrigued me. I learned about credit reports. I learned how to build your credit score properly. And I realized, okay, cool, they're not getting approved for these credit cards because they have negative items on their credit report. So that's when I started to realize, okay, cool, if I can fix this, there's a lot of money. Because I was always taught when the more problems you solve, the more money you can make, right? So I wanted to find a big problem in this world and I wanted to come up with the solution for it. So once I realized, okay, cool, a lot of people are struggling with credit. If I can fix this issue, I can make a lot of money. That's when I started to focus on credit repair and things like that.
That's interesting, man. You saying a lot of things. It's like always it comes full circle, right? So the first thing was the mentorship piece, right? And the next thing you brought up that comes full circle is the network marketing.
Yeah.
Like it seems like a lot of our guests, a lot of these entrepreneurs are coming from some type of background where like they started in network marketing. And so like you ain't got to shout out the actual org, but like what was the niche of network marketing that you were in? Was it trading?
Yeah, so it was actually it was financial literacy. We're learning about things like crypto. We're learning how to invest properly. Okay. So even there, I just being around money, learning how to invest. I was already getting millionaire mentorship at a young age. Like my mentor was a multi-millionaire. He's still a millionaire. He's doing big things. Like he just going up and going up and going up. So just having access to people like that, it just really like it forces you to grow up fast and you learn a lot.
Yeah. When did you get started with the network marketing? At like what age?
2020. So I was probably like 2021, 22.
Okay. Yeah. So 2020. Oh, this is in the pandemic.
During the pandemic.
So that makes sense on why you would want to do something like network marketing, because like you could do that from home. You could travel still, but it's like virtually you can do it anywhere.
Yeah, and that's why I stopped playing football during the pandemic, because they actually canceled my football season back to back. So I was like, because obviously everybody that plays football, you play in the college level. Like a lot of people have dreams of going to the NFL. Like I always had a dream of going to the NFL. I used to work super hard when it came to like football, but it got cut short because they canceled 2 back-to-back seasons. So before you know it, I played my first year. I come back to the field, I'm a junior. It's like, damn, the chances of me making it are slim, like let me start looking into, you know, the entrepreneurship thing that my guys were on the team were already doing. So that's what led me into network marketing, and then which led me into credit repair after that.
Okay, dope. So what were some of the challenges you started facing while in network marketing, and like how did that kind of shape to where you are now?
Some of the challenges that I faced, to be honest, I was super locked in. I was always around the campfire. I didn't have the most money back then, so money was a problem. But I realized I didn't have money. I wanted to go make more of it, so I just continued to learn. Just got around the right people, but money was definitely a big issue. But just continuing to grind, staying focused, having like that belief level of seeing other people see success, it made me want to go hard. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're chilling with someone and they have a Lamborghini, they have all these different cars, they're making mad money. It's like, if he can do it, I can do it too. So I just continue to stay around the fire regardless.
That's a tricky situation to be in too, with, especially like with being in like network marketing. And of course, I could see like that's where the benefit of leveraging credit will come in. But for someone who, like your friends at some point who couldn't get, you know, the credit and stuff like that, talk about how hard it is to like scale in network marketing when you don't have the funds. Because I'm sure a lot of people were facing that. Like I know exactly what you're saying, because I've been there too with being in network marketing and not having a lot of funds, because it is a lot of upfront investment. You know, and if you really want to scale it, you got to invest in things like, you know, outreach. You got to maybe invest into some ads. You got to invest in your travel to get to meetings and stuff like that. So like, did that hinder you, or is that kind of where you started to kind of get into the credit so that you had the funds to do those things?
Honestly, I'll say that's what made me. Just realizing I ain't have it. It made me want to just even go harder. Because it's like, if I see other people doing it, it's like, I'm a human too. Why can't I? So I started to just find different ways to maneuver, and credit was one of those ways. I learned about OPM, other people's money. So I learned how you can leverage the bank's money, you know, to pretty much help yourself out, to set yourself up for success. Yeah.
So if there's one thing now that you could change, like from where you are now to looking back, and you hear like the constant like limited beliefs and things like that, or whatever people are saying about credit, like what would be one thing you would change about how people view credit or were viewing credit back then?
Honestly, I would teach people more about funding early on. Like I just started getting into the funding space a year ago. I've been in credit repair for 4 years. I just got into the funding space last year. So I would honestly teach people about funding, because with funding, there's something called 0% interest funding, where you can go to these banks, you can get approved for a line of credit for $50,000, $75,000 at 0% interest for a year, anywhere from 12 to 16 months. You can use those funds to start your business, because when you think about startup businesses, right, one of the biggest problems is they don't have that capital reoccurring every single month in order to maintain certain expenses, right? The overhead is too much for them. So with 0% interest funding, I can get you access to $75,000. You don't have to worry about making big payments every single month, because there's no interest that's occurring at all, right? So I can use 30,000 out of the 50,000 to go invest fully into my business, set up my ads, set up all these campaigns, and I don't have to worry about making big payments every single month. You only have to pay 1% of what you're utilizing every single month, right? So if I'm using $50,000, I'm only required to pay back $500 for the entire year. That gives me time to actually grow and scale my business now. So a lot of people that were struggling with capital, we didn't know about credit. So if I can go back and I can teach those people, I would situate their credit, I would build their credit reports, structure them out correctly, and then I would get them access to funding so they can grow at a faster rate.
And so like that is a big point, because it's hard to grow a business when you don't have no funds. And a lot of people, we talked about this with Darius a couple months ago. It's like you get these big ideas, and then it's like, damn, I can't implement it. I gotta wait 4, 5, 6 a year until I could save up the funds to implement it. I was like, oh dang, I got this cool opportunity. I could get this mentor that could help me grow the business, but they want 5,000. I don't have it. I gotta wait, or I gotta save up the money. It's like it really does put a like an expiration date, or it extends the period of how long it's going to take you to get there, when credit kind of like the funding helps you move a little bit faster. So now as we transition into the part of your journey where you start building this community, because now at this point you've helped hundreds of people. So at what point did you now say, hey, I need to like like what was the purpose of starting the community, and what problem did you also then solve in having the community?
Absolutely. So for those that don't know, my community is called Credit Genius. So with Credit Genius, we pretty much help people start their own credit repair companies and their own funding companies.
Right.
So just thinking about it, I was leaving so much money on the table. I was helping people constantly with their credit. I was helping people get access to funding, but I didn't think about how many people actually wanted to learn how to do the same exact thing. Like you think about other businesses, you think about like real estate. I work with like a lot of different real estate agents, right? And they would love to be able to get their clients access to funding, right? So the fact that now I have a program where they can come in, they can get their clients access to funding, where they can use that money to, make a down payment on a home, and they can now get into, they can now sell these houses at a faster rate. It's perfect for them. So I was just leaving so much money on the table. So now with my community, I'm able to get people in there that want to start credit businesses, that want to start business funding programs, and they can now offer it to the masses themselves.
And now, I want to talk about like the process of like running a funding business, right?
For
like,
sure.
What is like the time commitment that a person are there systems that you can build out where like some of your students who come into the community, like they can run other businesses, and then like this is just like because you said real estate agents, they're very busy.
Yeah,
so like I'm just trying to imagine like what is the actual commitment to like starting a funding company and like running that whole separate business to make sure that you don't fall short in like the original business that you might be either more passionate about or is giving you more income right now.
Yeah, so the good thing about Credit Genius, everything is automated and done for you. So when I say I set you up with a credit business and I set you up with a funding company, you don't have to do any of the work yourself, but bring in your clients. The community already comes with 4 employees for credit repair and 4 employees for funding. So let's say you want to get started, you don't have the most time because you're already selling houses, you're in real estate. You can come in, you have 4 employees that are ready to do all the work for you. So you don't have to learn repair. I've trained these employees for the last 4 years. They've been working for me for a long time. So you come in, right? You have a client that needs credit repair. All you have to do is collect their information, upload it into the portal, and then from there, my clients start working on. My employees start working on the files as soon as they're submitted. Right?
And it's interesting because it's like those employees, not like they have to like. It's like no different. Even though these are different companies, technically, it's all the same process. It's not like they got to remember the brand voice or like, it's not like it's like related to your specific brand. It's just servicing the clients at the end of the day. So that's actually pretty genius. And so at what point would you know that you need to get more employees? Are they not overworked right now with all the clients?
Now, so I have a huge list of people that are willing.
Oh, so you're already ready.
Yeah, I'm ready for all that. Yeah.
He said, I'm already ready. Next question. Okay, that's interesting. So, as I'm thinking about the different people who are coming to you, have you noticed any trends of the people that are in your community? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges that they're facing before they came into the community, and then like what are some consistent challenges they may even still be facing right now that you're looking to solve within the community? A
lot of it is just marketing. A lot of them never had a business before, so just learning how to operate and run a business correctly, learning about client communication, different things like that. Is something that's definitely needed for them. But in my academy, in my program, I teach marketing, I teach sales, I have all those different trainings, and then we also run calls every Sunday as well to educate them on different things that they're struggling with. So what I'll do is I'll have one of my VAs gather data on what everybody's struggling with, and then we'll set up a call on Sunday to address these issues, teach different things when it comes to marketing, teach things when it comes to sales, so they can operate their business correctly and just see success.
What's the huge struggle that you've seen within marketing alone that had like was a lesson that you even learned? Like you may not even have identified it like when you first started the community, but like recently, like, oh dang, that is a struggle in marketing. Let me figure out that. Like, what's something that you learned about marketing?
Honestly, a lot of people are scared to show others what they do because they don't want to be looked at a certain way. Like a lot of people are scared to post, like they're scared to show the world what they do. Yeah. So it's like you think about it, how are you going to grow a business if you don't want to show people or you don't want to tell people what you do? So, they're just worried about what other people think. So I try to get them out of that headspace. I try to teach them like, listen, if it doesn't matter, I always tell them if it won't matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes on it. Or like these people that are judging you or they see you a certain way, in 5 years, they're not going to matter. It's going to be irrelevant. So just focus on yourself, focus on building your business, focus on building your brand. Go out there and show people what you do. Don't be in your head. Don't care about what people think.
Well, here's a hot take, right? Because I used to be a fan of like faceless brands, right? But the more I dove into like storytelling, because like I'm big on storytelling, and the main thing that kind of helps you build and tell a story to build that trust with your core audience or your customers, right, is having some type of like person, like a face, like a personality, something that somebody that some people can relate to. And so I don't feel like a faceless brand is 100% the way, but I do feel like that there's a way that you can have a faceless brand, meaning it's not your face, while still having a brand that has a face. What are your thoughts on like paying for like having paid actors to like, you saying you got to put out more content, maybe putting out some content with like paid actors and stuff like that for those people who are a little bit more introverted or don't feel like they have, you know, the face to put on their business, or don't feel like they have the personality or the spunk or whatever it is like that to put on their business. What's your thoughts on that?
I definitely agree. Right now I'm using paid actors for my business as well. I like to get different faces that are sharing the same information as me, so they can bring in, you know, different types of people too. But I always feel like you should use your face. If you're looking to build your brand, I feel like you should be putting your face out there some way, shape, or form, right? Just so people can get familiar and you can build that credibility for yourself. Like I know the more times I'm very big like on visibility. The more people can see my face, whether it's on a podcast, whether it's on an ad, whether it's me posting on my feed, social media, all these different things, the more they see my face, the more credible I look. So I'm very big on getting my face out there.
I agree with you, because you know I'm doing the same thing myself, so I can't even say like, oh yeah, no, I'm not showing my face, because I put my face out there as well. But I'm always thinking about like what was these guys who built like, you know, T-Mobile and all these Fortune 500 companies, like you don't know who the owner is. Sure. How did they build? You know, obviously it was a way different time when they built. There was no social media and stuff like that, and so it's like I still try to like get into the minds of those business, like how were they able to scale to where they were as a faceless company, you know, with having like, you know, paid actors and stuff like that, and spokespeople and stuff like that. But it's always interesting. So what is another unexpected lesson that you've learned from your community that you weren't thinking you would learn as you embarked on this journey of like credit repair community and being just a community leader as well? It was something that they taught you.
Let's say a lot of them obviously lack the knowledge when it comes to like the credit space too. So that's something I have to pretty much like kickstart with them and kind of get them like up to speed. So that's my academy. It comes with pretty much like set videos where you learn about credit, you learn how to build credit, you learn how to repair credit, and you can just teach other people how to do the same exact thing. So like if you're coming in and I'm telling you it's done for you, you have no idea on what's going on, but you want to at least get some type of knowledge when it comes to the space. You at least want to learn, okay, cool, this is what a primary is, this is how trade lines work, this is, you know, how you remove a collection off a credit report. So a lot of them just they lack the knowledge, but that's pretty much what the academy is there for. So they can come in and at least have some type of idea of what they're speaking to people about, what they're getting people started with when it comes to my services. Okay.
I got a scenario for you that I think will be an interesting like case study for those, to give people context. So let's say you got an individual that comes to you and like they have their business structured.
Yep.
They have the LLC. They got all the stuff they need to have a structured business, exactly how you would want it to be structured to get them funding. But the issue is they don't have any collections. They don't have anything. But the thing that's hurting their credit is utilization. Okay. What would you say is like the first plan of action that they need to have to get them ready for funding?
Okay, cool. So I've been through this situation before. So let's say I'm looking at someone's credit report. They have great credit, right? They have all the accounts that they need to get funding. The only thing they're lacking is utilization. So a quick play is what I do with them. I get them approved through a private lender. I get them a loan. So I'll get them
like
a loan.
a personal loan.
I'll get them a personal loan that reports on their credit. The thing about loans, they might take up to 45 days to actually report, right? So I'll get the loan. I'll get the money to deposit in their account within 48 hours. They'll use that to pay their utilization. The loan still hasn't reflected on their credit report. It takes up to 45 days. So I do a rapid rescore, and that's pretty much where I can get the utilization to reflect within 48 hours on their credit. So usually there's a period in time you have to wait for the utilization to reflect. It all depends on when your statement reporting date is on your credit card. So let's say you owe $6,000. If you pay it off, it's not going to show tomorrow that you paid off the $6,000. You're going to have to wait for that statement reporting cycle to come back around again. So it can take up to 30 days. So what I do is with the rapid rescore, I can get it to reflect within 48 hours. So it looks like you paid off your cards within 48 hours, right? Utilization's at 0. No loan has reflected. So when the banks pull your report, they don't see that you've used a loan to pay off these cards. So then what I'm doing is I'm going to get them funding now. And then they're taking a percentage of what they got funded to pay off their loan. And then they use the rest for their business. Right?
That's right. So like the funding that they're getting, after they got that 0%, that zero utilization, you're not getting them more personal credit cards. You're going straight after the business. So they're getting them business funding.
Yeah. So the thing about the reason I like business funding is because it's not going to report on your personal credit, right? When it comes to business funding, you obviously want to utilize it to grow your business. So if it's reflecting on your personal credit, that's when utilization is going to be a factor. It'll drop your scores if you use the entire 50,000 that I get you to grow your business. So I go to the business side of things. I go and I get them funded there at 0 APR for 12 to 18 months. They can use that money to leverage and grow their business without having to make those big payments like I was talking about every single month. And, now their business is growing. Now they have some capital to go and start their car rental business, to go, get approved, or get a property. So, yeah.
Right. So, okay, because with the business side, it's a lot easier for you to get higher credit limits and stuff like that. So you can get like maybe funded for 100,000, but you only needed like 13,000 that you got that personal loan, or 20,000 or whatever like that.
For sure.
Pay that off, and then you still got 80,000 left in business credit.
Absolutely. So when it comes to my funding program, I have banking relationship managers. So I have a lot of relationships with multiple banks, including Chase. You have Citizens, you have US Bank, Truist Bank, Key Bank. With these banks, they all offer 0 APR funding, right? And I can get you up to $250,000 just going through these sequences of banks. So I can get you funded. You don't have to worry about utilization. It's going to be 0% APR. And then on the back end, I just charge a commission fee for getting you access to your funds.
That's interesting, man. You put that in a great perspective, because I know people who are in that same position. So I thought that scenario for them watching would be super helpful.
Absolutely.
And the way you explained it, I would go straight to you to kind of help out with that. So let's still in the community aspect of things, right? But I want to paint the picture. Like, let's pretend your community is a movie, right? Let's say the community is a movie, which you give me like your life is a movie type of guy, right? So what would be like a pivotal scene that kind of changed everything for you and your community? So
you seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
You seen how Jordan Belfort, he pretty much created his own team, and from there he went up. Like his business just went crazy. He left the company he was working at. He taught people how to do the same exact thing he was doing, and then from there he got rich, and then he got multiple people rich as well. That's pretty much how I see like my community.
Wow.
I started something. I know how to do it very well. Now I'm teaching other people how to do the same exact thing. I get rich, they get rich as well. So that's pretty much how I see it.
Yeah, bringing people up with you.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you can go far. You can go fast by yourself, but you can't go far. So like just teaching other people, putting other people in the same exact shoes that I was in 4 years ago when I first started, so they can start to see that success, they can start to grow and start their own communities and just do everything that I'm doing is pretty much the goal. Like helping everybody win.
Man, you make it sound very, very easy, Ruben. I gotta say this. Like when having this conversation with you, it almost make me feel like, hey, it'll be very beneficial for the media company to have a funding business. But like as I'm getting excited about it, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I know it just can't be this easy. So like kick it to me straight. What is like the hardest part about running a community and a credit business and a funding company?
The hardest part for the funding company is honestly getting people to structure their business correctly. So a lot of people have something called a high risk business. So when you look at their LLC names, you can tell exactly what industry they're in based off their names. 9 times out of 10, that's going to make it a high risk business. So let's say GBR real estate or GBR credit. When you look at my LLC and you see things like that, you're not going to get approved for funding. So sitting down with a client and really just teaching them how to structure their report, when it comes to applying for funding, there's certain data points that these banks are looking for, right? When it comes to how much your business has made, business revenue, people don't know that. That's not asking you what your business made. It's asking you what you're projected to make within, the next year. So a lot of people are putting $40,000. The bank isn't going to give you access to $80,000, $100,000 if you're only making $40,000, right? So I teach my clients how to apply when it comes to funding, how to structure their LLC so it's not high risk, and then just utilizing your banking relationship managers. You can go into the bank, you can go apply for $50,000. You might get approved for $5,000. You might get approved for $3,000. When you have access to a BRM, you're leveraging something called underwriting. So with underwriting, you have a relationship manager at the bank that's pretty much putting their stamp on the application before it gets sent in. So when you have that stamp on that application, the likelihood of you getting that $50,000 now is likely if your credit report matches. And there's certain things I look for when it comes to that as well.
Yeah. That's huge. That's huge right there. That was actually some real good game. I feel like, actually, before I even get there, like, what's your process for like turning a complex? Because that was a lot to digest. What's your process for turning like a complex strategy or a complex situation? Because I would imagine some people like this is their first time hearing this information. How do you break it down in like digestible content for people for them to understand? I
kind of like to walk my clients through the process, like pretty much holding their hand. Right. So we go step by step. I'm not going to give them all the information they need. First step, okay, cool. Let's structure up your credit report. You need at least 7 to 10 primaries on your credit report in order to move forward with the next step. So you hear of accounts like Kickoff, you hear of accounts like Credit Strong, Self. These are accounts where they're credit builders. So you're getting them added on your credit report. You're paying a monthly subscription on them, and it's reporting as on-time loan payment history. So when it comes to credit, people don't know that you have revolving credit and you have installment credit. Revolving credit is like revolving debt every single month. You think of credit cards. Installment credit is like loans. So a lot of people just don't have the proper structure when it comes to their credit report. So I get people anywhere from 7 to 10 primaries reporting on their credit report, including credit builders, including credit cards. We'll go to like different credit unions and things like that to get them access to personal funding, right? Because there's something called comparable credit. You can't go to the bank and request $50,000 and have nothing reporting on your credit report when it comes to credit cards. You have to have something that's comparable there. So I teach my students to go to, credit unions like DCU, like Navy Federal, where they'll give you a good bag. And a lot of people don't know credit unions are they're nonprofit organizations. So they're focused on helping the community grow. They offer the best interest rates, and then they give you access to the highest limits no matter what your credit report is looking like, right? So we go ahead and we teach our students to go to credit unions. We'll get them anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 reporting on their credit from multiple different credit cards. We'll get them these secured loans on their credit reports, and then we'll add some trade lines on the report. We'll get them ready for funding.
Wow. And then like, before we even get into that, right? So back to the structuring of the business, like a high risk business. Yeah. If somebody already got this LLC set up, are you having them set up a new LLC?
So I can have them restructure the LLC, right? So let's say they're in a real estate, they own like a real estate company. Instead of using, like I said, GBR real estate, you can use GBR Worldwide, you can use GBR Enterprise, you can use GBR Consulting, where that way when the banks are looking at your LLC, they kind of can't tell what kind of industry you're in. And when it comes to business purpose as well, they'll kind of ask you the purpose of your business. You also have to make sure it ties in with like I say, I use a consulting business. So I'll put GBR Consulting and then I'll speak on my consulting business. So like I said, when the banks are looking at me, they don't consider me a high risk. They want to give me access to funding. Yeah.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense. So as we fast forward now down to the future of like where you see financial education going, what is like a traditional credit approach versus a non-traditional approach that you guys might be taking, and why are you going that route versus some of the traditional credit routes? Like, what are some traditional routes that you feel like aren't really working anymore for consumers?
Honestly, trade lines. People are purchasing trade lines to get history added on their credit reports. But when you go to these banks and they're looking at your report in detail, they see that you don't actually own this account, right? So I teach people how to age their primaries. Like I said, with those credit builders, with these credit cards, you want to age them for 6 months before you want to go and get some funding. So I like to build like actually structure a credit report where these accounts are going to stay on your credit report long term.
Oh, wow, they don't talk about that. So what were trade lines good for? If you're saying are banks just now starting to have the softwares to see that the trade lines aren't yours, or like what made trade lines good at one point?
Yeah, so they're pretty much cracking down on them. Sometimes they're not reporting. When they do report, they're not as effective anymore. Back then, you'd have a trade line added on your report. It still does lower your utilization. It does still add credit history on your report. But when banks are looking at it, they see, okay, cool, this is a trade line. Let's kind of ignore this. Let's look at the accounts that they've built for themselves, right? Because we're getting you funded. It's cool to have a $20,000 trade line on your report, but that's someone else's, credit card. That's someone else's history. What do you have, right? So I'll get on the phone with some reps sometimes for my clients. Let's say I have a client, and this is when I first started my funding company. I would see some of my clients getting denied for funding. We'd request $75,000, $80,000, $50,000. My clients were getting denied, and I would call in on my client's behalf to kind of see, what's going on and why my clients are getting denied. And then they would be giving me a manual review of this client's credit report. They'll say, okay, cool, you have $5,000 in credit cards. You have this trade line here, but this trade line isn't yours. So we honestly denied you because you're lacking credit history. And I'll be like, okay, cool. So trade lines aren't as effective no more. That's just information I put together myself and I teach my students now. So now instead of going the trade line route, we're building primary history where we're adding these secured loans. We're getting you, some credit cards with these, credit unions before we submit you, for funding.
Yeah, and I think the trade lines was attractive for people because it gave them that like instant gratification. Yeah,
exactly.
Like at some point it allowed people to get funding like for 24 or 48 hours, or as soon as it reported, maybe like a week or something like that. But you're saying now the best way to do it is to build it up with these credit growing accounts.
Absolutely. And people don't know that trade lines are getting removed off your credit report sometimes within 2 weeks, sometimes within a month. So it'll shoot your scores up. You'll be at a 700, 725, 750. 2 weeks later, a month later, your scores is back at 660. So it's like a short-term fix, right? We specialize in actually building that report. We help you remove your inquiries. We help you remove these negative items off your credit report. A lot of people don't know that in order for you to have a negative item, a collection account to stay on your credit report, there has to be 5 points of compliance that's actually met in order for that collection account to stick. 99% of accounts are missing those 5 pieces of compliance in order to stay on your report. So we're getting accounts removed off these people's credit reports within months because they don't have access to those 5 points of compliance. They're lacking the proof. They have a bunch of different inaccuracies on their credit report. So when I'm disputing different things, I'm disputing so much inaccuracies that I'm looking at and I'm seeing to get these accounts removed off people's report. So I focus on like a long-term solution. I don't care about short-term. I'm not doing, you probably seen people talking about like TransUnion sweeps and stuff like that, where they can get it off your report within like a week. I don't focus on things like that because people are doing TransUnion sweeps, right? And then within 2 months, you have the accounts right back on your TransUnion. So I focus like on long-term fixes. I don't care about trade lines. I don't care about, these little sweeps that people are doing. I'm focused on like setting you up for the future.
Wait, and it just sounds like that sounds like a huge pro to have, right? Getting set up for the future, or like go through this like instant gratification. Yeah. But of course, to setting them up for the future, that sounds like it's going to take a little bit longer. So Absolutely. Like, what's the timeline for somebody with like, let's say they got what the lowest to get approved for a home is of like a 580. So let's say they got a 580,
yep.
And they trying to now get a business. They got some negative items. They got some utilization. What's the average time to get them to where ideally where you would want to go? And then what does that even look like? Ideally, what do you want their profile to look like, and how long is it going to take to get there?
So I say 2 to 6 months in order to structure your report the right way, get these accounts removed off your credit report as far as just repair. After that, I would say probably like another 4-month process in order to just structure your report. I like my clients to have at least 7 to 10 primaries reporting on their credit report. I don't like anything over 3 inquiries per every single bureau. I like you to have your utilization for every single credit card under 30%. I like you to have a certain amount of credit cards. I like comparable credit. So I want you to have over $5,000 reporting on your credit report from your cards and things like that. And then, like I said, just having your LLC structured correctly, because there's something called data points, right? And these banks, they're pretty much using an algorithm, and you want to kind of align with that algorithm in order to even be considered for an approval when it comes to business lines of credit, right? And a lot of people are going against that algorithm. So when it comes to data points, like I said, income, monthly estimated spend. These things, the applications have to be filled out correctly, and then your report also has to align in order to get approved for funding. So
That's a good point. Are there any negative items that can't be removed off like somebody's credit? Like, oh, absolutely not. This, you're just gonna have to let this take its course.
Now, so anything can be removed. Anything that's reporting on your credit that's negative can be removed, and it's due to the 5 points of compliance. Like I said, most companies don't have that information. They don't meet that criteria. So I just look for those inaccuracies. Obviously, some accounts do take longer than others to get removed off your report, but when it's all said and done, you should be good to go.
Yeah, because they'll try to fight it.
They will.
The first one, because I tried doing this a couple times myself. So, I had a couple negative items that I was trying to take off at one point, and I would get like letters back like, "Oh no, we verified that this is accurate." I'm like, "How? How did you verify? What was the process for verifying it?" Send them another one. It took me 3 letters at one point to get something removed, and that took like maybe, with snail mail, like 8 months.
Yeah,
just to kind of between that back and forth.
Absolutely. It's definitely what I tell people that need credit repair: don't come into the space and don't pay someone for credit repair and expect fast results. It's something that's definitely going to take time, because you think about it, people are messing up their credit for years. 4 or 5 years of not paying these banks back, and then they expect a short-term fix. They expect to see results in a month or two. It's going to take some time. Just be patient when it comes to the process.
Yeah, you got to be patient. Have some patience. I mean, Instagram, social media in general, I think is the cause of this. Like, it is, we get a lot of because you get the people out there who say like, "Hey, don't matter where your credit was at, I can get you funded in 24 hours." Like, you got people out there who like that's the claims that they make, and so I think we just have to do like. Or not me, because I'm not in the space, but like as you guys are like put more content out there, and I'm seeing you guys are changing the game, like just giving that education, like telling people, like resetting the expectations on what it looks like to get your credit fixed and like the process and stuff like that, and I think people will get it.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we are in this space, and it could even get even worse now with like the changes that the government is making. As far as like education, like what's something that you wish outside of you wish they taught it, period, right? What's something that you wish they taught in schools about like credit and business funding and just finances in general?
I wish they did teach more about like credit cards and like their benefits and things like that. I feel like that's something you have to do on your own. And then also when it comes to business funding, like I didn't know about business funding myself when I was starting my business. Like I feel like if I had access to capital at no interest, it would have been way better for me. Like I got myself funded 2 years ago. I got myself access to like $60,000 at 0% interest like 2 years ago. And then I went and I started 3 Airbnbs with that. But before I started my Airbnb business and I got those, I had a car rental business. So if I could have known a lot earlier about business funding, I would have went and I would have been able to scale my car rental business to where I wanted it to scale at. But I kind of went through that delayed process where I started to learn about business funding later down the line. So if I would have learned a little earlier, that would have definitely been beneficial for me. And like I said, think about just startup businesses in general. Like they don't have that income coming in yet to really just scale. Yeah. So if we can get them access to money at a faster rate and we can get them a bigger amount, they'd be able to grow at a faster pace too. So
that's interesting that you have both an Airbnb or have an Airbnb business and a car rental business. I would love your thoughts on this because I think they're comparable in like many ways. But like since you did both, like which do you feel like was the better play for yourself? Like the Airbnb or the car rental business? Like which one had like more demand of your time? Like you couldn't really fully automate it? Like which one was better off for you?
They're gonna hate me for this, but I'm gonna say Airbnb. Right, all my car rental guys, I love y'all, but Airbnbs, I feel like you go through less headaches and you have to worry less when it comes to like your like damage. I know a lot of people can't drive. Like where I'm from, people are getting people can't drive.
People up north can't drive.
Yeah, they can't.
People down south can't drive neither. Though I ain't gonna hold you.
So I know that. So it's like when I'm getting my car when I'm getting text that my car just got crashed and I'm going through all these different things and now my funds get cut because I have to wait for the car to get repaired. Even though I can get an insurance check, that takes some time to come in. Right? Let's say I only have 2 vehicles and let's say one of mine get crashed or they're both down. While I'm waiting for this insurance check to come in,
you ain't getting no money.
No money. Right? Yeah. With Airbnb, I feel like the likelihood of someone coming in and destroying your property is little to none. Like, and when it comes to my Airbnbs, I focus on 1 bedrooms, right? So I'm not going out there. I'm not getting 3 bedrooms where I know people can host parties and they can bring all these people in. I have small 1 bedrooms. So you come in, you're booking 3-4 nights, 2-3 people max. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, I have a fee if you bring in anybody else. The likelihood of someone damaging my properties is little to none.
Yeah,
so.
you can't host Project X in a 1 bedroom.
You can't. They're not big enough.
Yeah. So you most likely getting like professionals who like traveling for business and stuff like that.
Yeah, coming out for events, little things like that.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I mean, I figured we had an Airbnb for a short time. I never got into the car rental business because my man's had a car rental business, and I just seen like how much that boy worked. I'm like, at this point, bro, you about to just go get a job. You working mad hard. Like you constantly dropping the whip off at the airport.
Yeah.
Then he was telling me how like he had this move like where he would like, you know, the airport shuttles that they got.
Yeah.
He would like I don't even know how he explained it. He would like get on the airport shuttle so that he was able to like leave the car parked in there. So like he would avoid having to drive it all the way to the airport every single time. He could just like leave it there and then tell them to get on the airport shuttle to go pick it up. But then a couple times they messed that system up because then they were like, oh, I had a ticket. So it was just like, bruh, at that point, is it even worth it? It's like a whole lot that goes with it.
Yeah, so with Airbnb, my process is actually automated. So I have cleaners. I have someone that's managing my property that they go and they inspect it probably once a week. And then also with your cleaners, you can actually add them as like a co-host. So my cleaners, they see when there's a booking. They pretty much own, it's like their property at this point. They see when someone's booking. They see the time they check in 3 p.m., check out is at 11 a.m. So they know what time someone's checking out. They know when someone's checking in. They know what time to have the units clean by. They see all the notifications themselves. So I add them on the co-host. They know after every single booking, they're gonna have a payment that's already sent to them from my assistant. So everything's already set up, right? I have someone that's looking at the property. They get paid weekly to look at the property. My cleaners get paid as soon as everything is clean. They know what time someone's booking, what time someone is checking out. They handle all communication. So at this point, we just send the payments. Everything else gets handled. So I don't have to worry about anything like that. And if there's any like short-term fixes that anything I have to fix, my property manager will take care of it. I just make sure I pay him.
Yeah, and it's most likely like if somebody damages property at Airbnb, it's like a couch or a chair or something like that, and you know, you could get a lot of this stuff for way less than getting a new car.
Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, so that's a big point, man. I figured you were going to say that, and I would like I said, I never had a car rental business, but just from the experience of owning an Airbnb and knowing that you can automate it, like you just said, it just seems like it's the better play. For depending on what your goals are, right? Before we wrap things up, Ruben, make one bold prediction of where you see like financial education and like finances going in the next couple years.
So I see it only growing. I feel like I see so many people now that are getting involved with the credit space and just educating people on credit when it comes to funding, the same exact thing, right? So I see this as an industry that's going to completely take off. And just looking at the numbers for my business too, like I started this 4 years ago. The last 2 years for me, I've made over 6 figures. This year, I'm aligned to make, like, based off the numbers and how everything is going, my first 7-figure year. You feel me? So just seeing the growth within my business and then also seeing other people starting to do the same exact thing, it's only going up.
That's a good point, man.
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't. They never lie. Men and women lie, but numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't.
Speaking of, like, that's another good point to bring up when, as you mentioned in the beginning about mentorship, as we're like wrapping things up, like give some game to like people on ways that they can vet out potential mentors, so that they can have credible, mentors and stuff like that. Because I've been in a position myself, earlier on in my journey where like I got some mentors that weren't necessarily like who they said they were. Yeah. We talked about numbers not lying. So like I know that would be one thing, but what are some other ways that you might have vetted out mentors before you started working with them?
I say success leaves clues. One thing that I used to do, I used to have something called shiny object syndrome. So I would see people posting their cars, they posting their chains, they posting jewelry, and it's like, okay, cool, I know he's getting to it. I know what he's teaching is legit. And I would go and I would tap in and I'll be like, this isn't what I expected, right? I let things like that don't involve education kind of make me invest into what they do, like those shiny objects. Now I focus more on value. So when it comes to like looking for a mentor, I see what people are really talking about, like not what they're wearing, not what they have, but what are they actually teaching? What are they speaking of? So I focus more on value driven content now. when it comes to deciding like who I want to work with or who I want to partner with. So that's pretty much what I'm looking for. Like a lot of you guys, you probably see people living, they're traveling, doing all these different things. You don't know how they're getting their money, right? A lot of people make money from just their students. A lot of people don't do what they're actually preaching. So you actually want to like focus more on like the value that they're putting out there. See like, okay, cool, that made sense. That was pretty smart. Maybe I can use that for my business. Focus more on the value rather than the things that don't matter.
That's game. That's some game right there. And I hope that our listeners really like tap in with that, because that's huge. The value is a huge part of it all. And I think we all been there. I think at one point we've all had shiny object syndrome, right? Because it just goes back into that instant gratification. You see it and you want to be like, damn, they can help me get it. But that's not always the case. We don't know how they got it, you know? So before we wrap things up, I want to take a moment to speak directly to like the entrepreneurs and the creators listening right now. If Ruben's story really resonated with you, I need you to do two things. You know, I want you to do, the first thing is I want you to DM me the word wolf, and I'll make sure I'll personally send you this episode and the clips of this episode that I think will resonate with your story, and even some other resources as well. It's like a personalized content calendar. So DM me the word wolf. And then the second thing I want you to do is comment the wolf emoji on this video on YouTube. And then me and Ruben, we're going to sit down and figure out some ways that we can help you grow your business. He's going to help you on the funding side, and then I'm going to help you on the marketing and the content side, so that you have the strategies to grow your business, and then you have the marketing strategies to scale that business. All right. So I want y'all to do those two things. DM me the word wolf, and then comment the wolf emoji on the YouTube video, and we're going to get busy with Ru, right? Hey, so Ru, I want to pass the mic off to you to, kind of, tell our listeners where they can find you, some exciting things you got going on in the future. Now, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. You can find me on all socials at GetBusyRu. Like I said, I'm a vet in this space. I've been in this space for over 4 years. If you have a business, you're looking to take your business to the next level, but you lack capital, you lack funds, I have a solution for you. One way or another, we can get you there. Whether you need credit repair, whether you need to structure your credit report correctly, we can get you access to funding at 0% interest to grow and scale your business. Don't be afraid to reach out to me. We're here to help.
Absolutely. What's one question that you wish someone asked you when you first were starting out, Ruben?
One question I feel someone wish they asked me. Honestly, what's your credit score?
Okay.
What's your credit score? I never realized the importance of credit. I never realized it like early on, like until someone was talking to me about credit cards and things like that. So just learning like before you even start your business that credit is important and you can really use it to leverage your business. I would have wished someone pretty much educated me when it came to that space before I even started everything. So yeah,
that's a good point. I would say the same thing. Like I said, I spoke a little bit to like my upbringing as far as growing up. Credit was never a thing. It was always just like big bad wolf. That you don't really want to talk about. It's just kind of bring more problems than good. You end up overspending. But the real issue is not the credit card. The real issue is just financial management, money management, and just financial responsibility. And once you have that, I think those are the real conversations we should be having, not the conversations around whether you should get a credit card or not.
Yeah.
So that's my closing remarks for this episode. I'm really excited about this episode because I feel like we touched on a lot on your story, and it's a lot of places that resonate with our audience, but also just some strategic ways for people to kind of like get themselves together and get themselves ready, so that we can, just come and get busy with Ru. Absolutely, man. So, Ru, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. To our listeners, it's been a great having you on here. Tap in with us every single Monday for those new episodes. We got some exciting things on the way. One thing that we launched is, MDM Brands. So now, as a brand agency, we are helping content creators, small business owners, entrepreneurs scale their businesses through content and through storytelling. That's one thing that I'm passionate about. And so it starts here. It starts with you guys. So I appreciate all the support that you guys give us. Ru, again, appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'm your guy, Kai Speaks. We out.